some Norwegian chocolate and stuff like that. But today I'm going to be talking about fairy tales and myths, essentially. Central parts of Norwegian folklore, essentially. So that will be fun. I've sort of been looking forward to doing this. Anyway, remember to just click the like button and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. And if you enjoy my content but you don't subscribe and you don't like it, that's okay too, so long as I can give someone joy. That's what's important to me. So let's begin. So I will be talking about Norwegian fairy tales and stuff and myths and legends, and there are a lot of those in Norway. Yeah, there are a lot of those in Norway. So, as for Norwegian myths and legends, I like to begin with the most famous ghost story of Norway. In the city of Trondheim lies the Nidarosdom, or the Nidaros Cathedral. And this cathedral is said to be haunted by a monk who lived many centuries ago. There have been sightings in the cathedral ever since the 1920s, at the very least, and many claim to have seen this monk, or even heard music playing from the church at night when no one's there. People who don't believe in ghosts will of course say it's just a story or people are imagining things. But if you ever visit Trondheim and the Nidaros Cathedral, see if you can catch a glimpse of the old monk. He is said to be haunting the steps of that cathedral. I have actually been in that cathedral. I did admittedly not see the monk, but I was in it many years ago, and I because my family was on a vacation there, and when we climbed the tight stairs up to the top of the cathedral, just be aware that if you're claustrophobic, I don't advise those stair halls. They're not really for the claustrophobic. They're not that tight, but they can be a little tight, so just warning you if you're claustrophobic. But anyway, but that was, I don't regret. It was nice being here. I don't regret it. I did, however, not catch a glimpse of the monk. He is Norway's most famous ghost, and and of course, you can't have a famous location without a famous ghost story, So, if you ever visit Norway, see if you can catch a glimpse of the monk. Visit Trondheim, visit the Nidaros Cathedral, and see if you can catch a glimpse of the monk. Yeah. The monk in the Nidaros Cathedral. Norway's most famous ghost, said to still be haunting the cathedral. Okay, there is also another ancient Norwegian fairy tale, which is known today, but which was much more common in the past, and that is something called for the Holdra. And the Holdra was said to be a beautiful woman with long hair, often seen near, in Norway you have these sort of huts, we call it setrer in Norwegian, and these are sort of huts that lies in nature areas, forests and valleys and such, where we keep animals and such. I think the closest description for English-speaking persons would be farmlands, and it's sort of farms, but it's kind of different with farms too, because these are built by just pure wood, they're very wooden buildings, and these sort of places that lie in the forest and for themselves, but in the old times, back during past centuries, there was this myth about Huldra, and Huldra was a beautiful woman with long flowing hair, but she could be identified by one thing: she would have the tail of a cow. and she was busy, and it was said that men saw this woman, and was attracted by her beauty, and followed her. Her were lured to her death, or were lured, like she would lure them, she would trick them by her beauty to sort of their undoing. And so she would look very pretty from behind, but I think when she turned, you would see it was more this gobblish troll-like figure. But she could enchant people. I'm not sure if I told the legend 100% accurate, but what is the gist of it? What is the gist of it? So she's sort of like, in other countries you have nymphs who lure people to their deaths in the water. She is sort of the Norwegian version of that. But she could be identified by seeing that she had a tail of a cow. That was the way to identify it. So a very dangerous being, because she played on, because she used attraction, sort of, Anyway, so then you also have something, back in the 19th century, a painter called for Theodor Kittelsen, and he was well known for depicting fairy tale scenes. Painted something which in Norwegian is called for nøkken, and the closest English word to this which I have found is the nyx, and the nyx is said to be Theodor Kittelsen painted this, and it is said to be a creature which lives in these small waterholes in the forests, and it's this troll which will look, and this troll looks like, this troll who looks like there is, it will look like, when you go to the forest and when there is waterholes, larger waterholes with much water in it, you will see often wood things and stones and these sort of branches and stuff glowing on top of the water. And it is said what those branches, and in the painting it is depicted what moss and those branches is essentially just the head of the nyx. So what you can see, this sort of trollish figure with green eyes, or green glowing eyes, sort of just move its head out of the water and look at you. And the branches and the moss is just its head. It's what's growing on top of it. It's not really much more known about the nyx, but the painting is very famous in Norway. Trolls are a very common part and essential part of Norwegian folklore and fairy tales. Yeah, that's why there are trolls behind me. I have to show what, and there are many places in Norway, in various stores and such, you can buy depictions of troll figures. So trolls are a very common part of Norwegian culture and folklore. And here I also have, we are going to treat this troll with respect. But here I have a fairy tale book. And Asbjørnsen og Moe they were essentially two men who in the 19th century collected Norwegian fairy tales. They wrote various folklore fairy tales, and they collected it, just like the Brothers Grimm did other places in Europe. And when you in this book you have essentially Norwegian fairy tales. You have H.C. Andersen, the Danish author, known for, among other things, The Ugly Duckling. And you have the Brothers Grimm, which probably most of you know. They're the ones that I think collected the stories like Hansel and Gretel and such, and then you have Thousand and One Night, the Arabic fairy tales. But we are going to be focusing on the Norwegian ones. And I think that the front picture here is a depiction of a Norwegian fairy tale. So I'm not going to be reading to you in this video, but I am going to just show some of the content. And here, to just sort of, or shall I put this, sort of just do this. Yeah. So we see there are some nice pictures. There are some nice pictures in the book. So let's just see if we can see which fairy tales these are from. Yeah. I'll have to see if I can find fairy tales I know and enjoy. Yeah, here was the ugly duckling. Let's look in the description, shall we? So, yeah. So we'll go to Asbjørnsen and Moe, the Norwegian fairy tales, and then we have to go all the way to 170. So so here you can see a depiction from a Norwegian fairy tale. I don't actually know what this, this is a little embarrassing, but I'm not entirely sure what this animal is called in English, but I think you English speaking people do know. It's called a book in Norwegian. You know, it's these animals with horns, and here is the troll under the bridge. And you know, this is a fairy tale about 3 of them, but they were to cross a bridge, you know, and the troll was trying to, because they were going to the seater or the farmland to eat themselves fat on the grass. Yeah, and but there was a troll trying to stop them, you know, and the troll was very angry, but they disturbed his sleep as he slept under the bridge. So, yeah, you can see here, you can see the troll. Yeah, you can see the troll. See the troll. And then you can, and then, you know, and eventually, so there were 3 of them, and the third finally sort of managed to just push the troll back into the ground so they could live happily ever after. It's very famous and well-known Norwegian story. If you're not a Norwegian, you probably heard it when you were a child. Yeah, you know, you heard it in schools and in books and all such things. Then there is the story about the pancake, which I think, I suspect that is a... Yeah, this is it's pretty much a story about a pancake which flees the hungry children and people. Yeah, you know, it's trying to save itself. So here you can see the mother and the 7 hungry childs around the pancake. Yeah, you know, maybe I should read some of these stories, see if I can translate them in English someday, if some would like that. But you know, the story didn't have a happy ending for the pancake. I read it here now. I remember it now when I read it, because it met a pig, and the pig tricked it and ate it. Poor pancake. Yeah. So I'm just looking. I hope you find this sort of cozy and a little relaxing. There's one more fairy tale I'd like to show you. No, I just yeah, but I just have to look it up. Yeah. Okay, I think I have what I need. So, you know, yeah, there is multiple nice, cool Norwegian stories in this book. Yeah. 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 And I know what when you do a scenario, you're not really supposed to look too much down, but I think that given what this is a video where I am sort of presenting content from a book, I hope it's a little more okay than it usually is. You know, yeah. There are so many nice. There is also a story, let's see, on page 160. Which is called for Smørbukk, or yeah, the butter book if you wish, or the butter boy. Yeah, I say the closest English translation for it would be the butter boy. And this was a fat boy who essentially was trying to avoid being eaten by a hag. A hag wanted to cook him, so I think he sort of managed to escape it. And here you can see the hag and the butter boy. Yeah. So because you can see the butter boy and the hag, you know. So that's also a famous Norwegian story. Yeah. I wonder if there's one more thing I'd like to. There's one more story I would like to show. I'll see if I can find out a picture of it here. You know. Yeah, here it is. It's the Ashland, which had a food race with a troll, and that's something I wanted to tell about in this video. 249. Let's see if we can get to page 249. Let's see if we can find a picture. Yeah. So here you can see the Ashland, and you can see the troll, and he met a troll in a forest, you know. The troll was very big, you know. And yeah, the troll I think wanted to eat him, but the Ashland. And he was called the Ashland because he spent his entire days near the oven. So he was always ashy in the face and often mocked by his two brothers. Yeah, Per and Paul. You know, who often are depicted in the fairy tales because there are multiple stories depicting, there are at least 2 stories depicting the Ashland. I think there may even be 3. I'm not sure. But Per and Paul are always sort of his arrogant brothers who does not take the Ashland seriously. But the Ashland always ends up winning. And because he is often mocked because he sits near the oven and is always sort of ashy. So the Ashland challenged the troll to a food race where they ate porridge. He went with the troll to the cave and they ate porridge. And when the Ashland tricked him, they said that if he wanted, because the Ashland had this bag in front of him, which he pretended was his stomach. So they just put porridge onto the bag because the trolls are dumb, so they're easy to trick. And so it would look like the Ashland was eating a lot. So the troll asked the Ashland, "How can you eat this much?" Well, the Ashland said what he just made more place by cutting his stomach open. And so he tricked the troll to cut his own stomach open, and of course the troll died. This is sort of the kind of brutal scenes which exist still in today in Norwegian fairy tales. It haven't been reformed or censored. So we've just grown up with these stories. And of course the troll died, he cut open his own stomach. And then, you know, I think the Ashland found gold and everything in the cave and lived happily ever after. But this is only one of many stories featuring the Ashland. There are other stories too, like the one where he won the princess and half the kingdom. And that was always a concept in Norwegian fairy tales. The Ashland will win the prince and half the kingdom. from the king. He would win the right to marry the princess. So, so it would essentially be the poor Ashland who married into wealth and married the princess and became a prince himself. I think that sort of stories of hope have come in Norway, because in past centuries, today Norway is a wealthy nation, but in past centuries Norway was a very poor nation. So I think this was sort of a fairy tale to inspire the poor people and the common people that good things could happen to them if they tried, and that wealth was never out of reach even for the poorest. And actually I can tell you that in that relation a lot of people from Norway in the 19th century emigrated to the US. So there are places in the US, which I'm sure some of you US citizens are aware of, today where there are people with Norwegian ancestry. Now, although Norway was a very Christian and conservative country in the 19th century, this is not the case today anymore. So when Norwegians with that kind of ancestry returns to Norway today, they find the country has completely transformed. Today Norway is a much more socialistic and social democratic country where Christianity is it just isn't as dominant as it once was anymore. Where Norway has become a very multicultural country, and the whole concept of Christianity doesn't stand as strong anymore, and the conservative ideals in Norway aren't as strong anymore. Most people in Norway aren't that religious anymore. And I think, we have changed a lot like a country in the recent decades. But there are a lot of Christians in Norway too, of course. But it's not the same as in the 19th century. But anyway, I just told that. So poor people in Norway sought their fort in the US in the 19th century, because the US was a place which offered hope for them. Anyway, I hope you appreciated this, me telling you a little about Norwegian fairy tales and legends and stuff like that. Maybe a little somewhat different video from what I've done earlier, but it was fun. And if you want me to read you a Norwegian fairy tale story, I'll see if I can translate it in the best way possible. I'll do my best. And I might do that someday. And I can also say that I hopefully will soon be able to do a more soft-spoken video. Thank you for watching, and have the greatest, blessed, most relaxing day and calming good day you can have. And just relax and be happy. Thank you.